The collapse didn't start on the field, it started in the office. And now Dak Prescott is staring at a future that could look nothing like the one he signed up for. 3 coaches are gone. 15 players could be next. And the clock is already ticking in Dallas. This isn't just another Cowboys offseason. This is the one that could finally break the illusion that everything is fine. Because when Jerry Jones pulls the trigger this fast, it's never random, and it's never quiet. For years, the Cowboys lived in a strange space between contender and chaos. Talented enough to win, unstable enough to implode. But 2025 changed the tone. It wasn't just the losses. It was how they happened. Missed assignments, defensive breakdowns, a roster that looked expensive, top-heavy, and strangely fragile. And Jerry Jones saw it too. The problem was no longer something you could coach around. It was structural. That's why change became unavoidable. Dallas didn't wait. Matt Eberflus was out, and with him went the comfort of continuity. Christian Parker stepped in as the new defensive coordinator, and almost immediately, the message was clear. This defense wasn't being tweaked. It was being rebuilt. And rebuilding doesn't stop with playbooks. It comes for people. Aaron White-Cotton was the first domino. He left for Tennessee, taking his defensive line expertise with him. That alone raised eyebrows. But then it kept going. Andre Curtis, David Overstreet II, Dave Borgonzi. 3 more defensive assistants gone, just like that. No drawn-out explanations. No slow transitions, just clean cuts. Those firings weren't symbolic. They were admissions. The Cowboys' secondary allowed 35 touchdown passes in 2025, second most in the entire league. For a team with postseason expectations, that's not just bad. It's unacceptable. And Jerry Jones doesn't tolerate embarrassment quietly. Ryan Smith was brought in to coach the cornerbacks, a quick move to stabilize one leaking part of the ship. But even that hire came with an unspoken truth. This staff is incomplete. More changes are coming, and while the coaching carousel spins, the roster situation is quietly becoming far more dangerous. Because behind the scenes, Dallas is facing a numbers problem that could rip the core apart. 22 contracts expired after the 2025 season. 22. That alone would be stressful. But here's where it gets serious. 15 of those players are unrestricted free agents. They can walk. No compensation. No safety net. Just gone. 7 of them are on offense. The rest are defenders. That balance matters, because it tells you where the pressure points are forming. And they're forming fast. Look at the names. Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, George Pickens, Jalen Tolbert, Hakeem Adeniji, Rob Jones. That's not depth. That's rotation players. That's production. That's flexibility. Now flip to defense. Jadeveon Clowney, Dante Fowler, Peyton Turner, Sam Williams, Kenneth Murray, Jack Sanborn, Donovan Wilson, Corey Ballantyne, C.J. Goodwin. That's pass rush. That's linebacker depth. That's secondary experience. This isn't a rebuild on paper. It's a potential talent drain in real time. And it all leads back to one brutal number. $31 million over the cap for 2026. That number is the silent villain of this story. Because being over the cap isn't just inconvenient. It's restrictive. It limits options. It forces choices. And every choice has a consequence. Dallas has a reputation for being cap smart. Creative restructures. Strategic extensions. Kicking money down the road. But this offseason is different. To even become compliant, the Cowboys need to clear roughly $31 million. That's just to get to zero. Then comes the real challenge. Retaining talent. Extending priorities. adding replacements. To do that comfortably, Dallas likely needs another 30 to 50 million in flexibility. That's a massive gap, and there's no magic button to close it. This is where Dak Prescott enters the storm. Because while he isn't up for a contract battle right now, everything around him is shifting. Protection, weapons, defensive support. All of it is in flux. Start with George Pickens. The moment he arrived in Dallas, he changed the offense. 93 receptions, 1,429 yards. In his first season. Those aren't just good numbers. Those are centerpiece numbers. Pickens didn't just produce. He demanded coverage. He opened space. He gave Dak Prescott a weapon who could win even when the play broke down. Losing him wouldn't be a step back. It would be a structural collapse on offense. That's why Pickens sits at the top of the priority list. If Dallas lets him walk, it sends a message louder than any press conference. It says this team is no longer maximizing Dak's window. Then there's Javonte Williams. His role was quieter, but no less important. Physical runner, reliable option. Not flashy, but functional. In an offense that often struggled with balance, Williams gave them stability. Replacing that isn't easy, and it isn't cheap. And then there's Jadeveon Clowney. 8.5 sacks. Team leader in pressure. Veteran presence. After Micah Parsons was moved on from in 2025, Clowney became the anchor. And he wants to stay. He's said it openly. Especially now, with a new defensive coordinator and a fresh system. Letting Clowney go wouldn't just weaken the pass rush. It would signal that Dallas is okay taking a step back on defense while rebuilding. That's a dangerous gamble when your quarterback is already under scrutiny. Because make no mistake, this offseason will shape how Dak Prescott is judged going forward. Not by his contract, not by his past, but by the environment around him. Quarterbacks don't exist in a vacuum. They reflect the structure they're placed in. Strip away receivers, disrupt protection, weaken the defense, and suddenly, every loss becomes a referendum on the quarterback. That's the risk Jerry Jones is playing with. The coaching changes suggest urgency. The cap situation suggests constraint. Those two forces don't always align. And when they clash, something gives. Christian Parker is trying to build a new defensive identity. But scheme only works if the personnel fits. And right now, that personnel is uncertain. Donovan Wilson has been a stabilizing presence in the secondary. Kenneth Murray brought physicality to the middle. Jack Sanborn added versatility. None of them are guaranteed to return. If even half of these players leave, the Cowboys aren't retooling. They're resetting, and resets take time. Time Dak Prescott doesn't have an unlimited supply. This is why the coaching firings matter more than they seem. They aren't just about accountability. They're about alignment. Jerry Jones is trying to synchronize a shrinking financial window with a competitive timeline. That's a hard balance. And historically, it's one Dallas has struggled with. The defense collapsing in 2025 wasn't just a bad year. It was the exposure of depth issues. Coaching masked some problems. Talent masked others. But when injuries hit and matchups tightened, the cracks widened. 35 touchdown passes allowed isn't a coincidence. It's a symptom, and symptoms demand treatment. But treatment costs money. Every restructure pushes consequences into the future. Every extension carries risk. And every player you keep means another you lose. This is the chessboard Jerry Jones is staring at. And Dak Prescott is one of the pieces affected by every move. If Pickens stays, something else probably goes. If Clowney stays, the margin tightens elsewhere. If both stay, the Cowboys have to get creative, and creative means uncertainty. That uncertainty bleeds into the locker room. Players notice. Agents notice. The league notices. This is where narratives form. Is Dallas all in? Or are they quietly resetting? Are they protecting Dak's window? Or preparing for life after it? Jerry Jones hasn't said it out loud, but his actions are speaking. Fast firings, rapid restructuring, controlled silence. The next few weeks will tell us everything. Who gets extended? Who tests the market? Who gets replaced with cheaper options? And here's the part that should worry Cowboys fans the most. If this goes wrong, it won't look dramatic at first. It will look subtle. A missed tackle here. A stalled drive there. A defense that can't get off the field. And by the time it's obvious, it will be too late to reverse. So here's the real question. And this is what I want you to think about as you watch this unfold. If Dallas loses Pickens, Clowney, and even a handful of these free agents, is that still a roster built to support Dak Prescott at the highest level? Or is this the beginning of a quiet teardown disguised as change? Drop your answer in the comments. Not just yes or no. Tell me which loss would hurt this team the most and why. Because the future of the Cowboys might already be slipping away, and most people won't notice until it's gone.